Hey, I'm Telomic. I've been producing for just over 10 years and welcome to my DNB Academy Masterclass. Throughout the course of my career, I've managed over 30 million Spotify streams. I've performed across Europe and the UK. By the end of this course, you guys should be able to make music in the kind of atmospheric liquid style that I've been doing for many years. Just over 5 hours, I'll be going through everything I use to build up my own liquid ambient tunes. So that's everything from music theory to drum design, drum layering, bass design, arrangement, mixing and mastering. And I can't wait to see you guys on the course. Hey guys, I'm Telomic. I'm back with DNB Academy, and today I just want to do another track from scratch. The last one was received really well, so hopefully if I take a slightly different approach today, then we can kind of go through a bunch of different techniques and sort of the way that my writing has changed over the past year. I recently put an album out, and there was a lot that I kind of learned in the process of doing that as well. So yeah, hopefully you can get something out of it. As a quick kind of disclaimer, I've been going through some pretty major writer's block for the last month, maybe a bit longer, which sucks. So I'll also kind of talk about tackling that and kind of what I do if potentially a session doesn't work. Like if you're putting some chords in and it's just not really kind of gelling, what I will do to kind of take something from that session as well. So I've got some chords kind of sketched out, just the default serum patch. Let me just stick a limiter on here. Nothing on the master other than this limiter, and I've got Vision 4X here as well. Okay, there we go. Sorry, I'm using my desktop and I normally work off my laptop, so there might be a couple of times where a plugin comes in and I need to activate it, but I'll edit all that out. Anyway, yeah, so we've got some chords, basic serum patch. And then I've got this kind of stabby little plucky thing, which is the same chords, just rhythm is edited. Again, default serum patch. So let's start first. We are in G sharp minor. I quite like that key, so let's start getting a pad going. So I'll increase the unison. You could add a second oscillator as well, and low pass, and then I tend to add some kind of modulation to the keys as well, to the pad, sorry. So envelope, we can even do it the other way. Cool, bit of reverb. Take some of that low end out. Maybe a chorus. And let's get Pro Q on there as well. So I tend to EQ out the kind of low mids of a lot of sounds like this. We'll obviously high pass it later anyway, but you can hear without it gets kind of resonant in that area. That sounds cool. And then we'll leave that for now actually. Let's see if we can find some pads. So I've got I might even have yeah, here we go. So I've got like a bunch of like bits from tunes and stuff that I've basically taken and just stretched way out. Here's another one. So these are quite handy to use. Let's take this one. And you can do this as a note, like I've put these on let's start again. I've put these in Audacity and just done it there. Like you can use pull stretch there. Pull stretch is its own like standalone application as well, so you can use that. But you could even, if I put Shaperbox, I actually have Shaperbox 3, but I don't have it installed in here, but the whole thing's basically the same anyway. Some reverb on there as well. Nice. See if we can find some more atmosphere. I tend to like start stacking, so we've got loads of different things going on, and we build up like a really full sounding intro, and then I can be really inspired. So like if I have various different drop ideas that don't work, I know I've got this bassist that sounds really good and like something to work off on a tune. Again, if you're struggling from writer's block and you have something that's starting to sound good, focus on that. Don't worry about like trying to sketch out loads of different ideas or whatever. If you've got something that's working, get in that flow state straight away. Yeah, because otherwise you're shooting yourself in the foot basically. So again, pull stretch. I've got a bunch of these like vocal atmospheres. These were tiny little like millisecond cuts of vocal that I've like stretched out. Cool. So we're in D. Let's pitch that up a little bit. Cool. You could like throw auto tune on it as well if you really wanted to have it like perfectly in pitch, but a little bit of drift is fine. Let's put a soothe on there as well. The kind of reverb I use, the kind of EQ that I use, not reverb, depends on how precise I want to be. So I'll use EQ8 if I'm like just doing some rough high pass, low pass kind of stuff. If I'm like really getting into like dropping resonances and stuff and I need to find an exact frequency range, then I'll use Pro Q3. So that's why you'll kind of see me switch between them. Would help if this was in key, so we're in D. So we need to put that down 6 semitones. Cool, more atmospheres. I tend to use a lot of samples as well for atmospheres and stuff. That's quite a nice one. Drop that down too. group those as well. Then I can just have the one shaper box on that group, and we'll keep that one out of it for now. And I'll put the reverb after as well. Nice. Okay, so let's take a look at adding an art player to this. So do 2 MIDI tracks. One, we may write the up ourselves, but I quite like messing around with Cthulhu at the moment, so we'll try that. Let Pigments load. Pigments, to be honest, has become like one of my go-tos now. I like Serum, and I used Serum for a long time, and obviously evidently still do, but Pigments has got like a really nice workflow. So cool. So turn chords off, drag the MIDI down, and we'll loop that. If we hit that as well, it won't sound through the thing. And then for the MIDI ins, we just pick Cthulhu and then select in, and that should now. There you go. And we can like change the rate. We'll notice as well, actually there's some of these have got 3 notes, and some have got 4, so just to cool, that'll do. And what we can also do when we get a pattern that works is we can like print that MIDI and then edit it afterwards if you wanted like more control. But yeah. Cool, so basic pluck, and then we'll go in, we'll clear out the effects. We'll do some chorus, bit of distortion. Multiband, basically OT2, and then add another filter with the same envelope on it. And then we can map a macro to a bunch of different parameters, so the decay on both of the envelopes, the cutoff on both of the filters, and we'll see that might be all we need. Cool, and then let's stick some multiband on there. Sweet cute. So I want to try another pattern as well. So let's just try and write one quickly. Let's try that repeating and see if that works. I quite like that like semitone movement between the E and the D sharp. So. Yeah, cool, we'll go with that rather than the Cthulhu one. I'll keep Cthulhu there in case we decide to use it later. The cool thing about that macro now is we can like use it to really open up the ARP, so if we okay, right. Yeah. Cool. Right, let's get this plot going. I think we've actually got something working now. I was quite nervous before this because, as I said, I've not written for a while. So, but I suppose there's still time for this to not work. But, yeah. So standard pluck, like a bit of a decay on the filter. Let's add an attack to that as well. Sometimes LFOs actually work better as envelopes than the envelopes in Serum, so it's worth kind of messing around with both. We set that to 2 bars, in fact 4 bars, and then do, you could obviously like manually do this as well, but and let's get some maybe with some of these atmospheres. Maybe if I take, I don't know, at this point I'm bouncing ideas, so this might not work, but let's turn that off, resample the atmosphere onto here, and then I can use it as like a swell in the drop, but have more control because it'll all be bounced as one audio file. So I realize I kind of whizzed through that. That's fine. Obviously I'll do it so it'll be more obvious like as I do it. So resampling that all as audio now. So obviously the level's quite low, but it's fine, we can fix that. There's also that one. Let's bring that level up. A slight click at the end of that. Let's just although is that click here? Yeah, it's in that instead. I think it's if we add a bit more release to cool. Multi-brand. We've also got, if I throw in, I wonder if we can stack this. I've got, so in here somewhere, is it that one? No, somewhere in this pack I've got this thing, this bass that I quite like. It might be under plucks. It's the problem when you name a bunch of presets, you just like totally forget what you've named what. Cool, that's the one. Cool, there we go. So we've got our two layers. Let's get just like a standard sub going underneath those plucks. You could do like a stabby sub, but I think like a fairly constant drone might work better. So let's do this from scratch. 2 saw waves detuned, no unison. Mono. Cool, done. Drag our chords over and just let's just whack span on there. There it is. So that first note's a bit low. So actually that's too high. So I was right to start with, I think. Because you've got two waveforms like detuned from one another, the wavelength is slightly different, and so they're going to phase with each other, so you're going to have volume jumping up and down, which is why I've just high passed that, just so that I can like add a sub in afterwards basically. We'll do it in Serum. You could just use operator or something, but if I then add any like pitch bend and stuff, I can then like manipulate that exactly in. That as well.
Hey, I'm Telomic. I've been producing for just over 10 years, and welcome to my DNB Academy Masterclass. Throughout the course of my career, I've managed over 30 million Spotify streams. I've performed across Europe and the UK. By the end of this course, you guys should be able to make music in the kind of atmospheric liquid style that I've been doing for many years. Just over 5 hours, I'll be going through everything I use to build up my own liquid ambient tunes. So that's everything from music theory to drum design, drum layering, bass design, arrangement, mixing and mastering. And I can't wait to see you guys on the course.
Cool, and now let's get some drums going. Cool, so we'll start with whether I've got something that's got a little bit more energy to it. I quite like using hot pants as like a basis. It's a nice break. So I know that that's the second kick there. So the way that I work with old school breaks, take where the second kick is and line that up so that that is one bar, even though the hits aren't lined up properly. I know that's one bar. Slice that because we don't need that second part. And then consolidate that. It's Command J, or you can right click and consolidate. And now switch to beats mode and we can quantize it. So there's a few hits that like aren't on the grid. And depending on the type of tune I'm doing, will depend on like whether I quantize those hits or not. So if you're doing something that's a bit more liquid, you can get away with a little bit more like kind of off-grid stuff. It's still got like a little bit of flow to it, but it's not as loose as it was to start with. And then we'll just high pass it. And now it's about finding hits and stuff that we can layer with that. So let's find a kick. I need like a kind of rim shot, just like a tight snare basically. Try a kick with a bit more tops. Now we need just some breaks and shakers and stuff, just to fill it out really, and yeah, get some momentum going, I guess. So sort of the thought process that I have when I do this, like some of this is like samples I know where they are in my library, and I'm like, okay, I know that break works or whatever. Like this is the Think break shakers and they're great. And like I've got like drums from like old projects and stuff. One thing to make sure you're doing as well when you're like layering up breaks is that anything that's got too much like low end in it, just make sure you're high passing some of that low end out. And we'll want to be side chaining some of this to the kick as well. So I sidechain with utility. I probably went through that in the last video, but if you've not seen that one, the reason I do that is because it gives me a bit more like control over the release of the sidechain. If you're using like triggers, like a kick trigger, for example, then your release won't start until your kick has like stopped, if that makes sense. And some people will use like white noise triggers as well, which are like really short, so they'll turn the compressor on and tell it that it needs to duck, and then use the release control as like your release basically. But and some people use something like Shaperbox or LFO Tool or whatever as well. I use this just because Ableton has some issues with like plugin delay compensation. So if you have a bigger project and you're using something like LFO Tool and it's running free and it's meant to sync to the project, there's always like latency and it like drifts out and stuff. And if I'm automating like this, I know it's going to be alright. So I often layer up quite a few layers as well, as you'll see, and then we'll go back and like remove stuff if I feel like it doesn't need it. Something that's got a little bit more like clappiness to it. Probably like an amen or something in there as well. I have got quite a good one somewhere. Let me find it. A good amen is like, that's just one of the things you need to have in your collection. There it is. Cool, and then, although, I don't know if that's splashy enough really. Let's try like, I've got an older one somewhere. Here we go. Proper meaty 808. And we'll obviously have to cut that up to like fit with the pattern of our drums. Nice, and then just high pass all the way out of it, so it's actually just like cymbals and then we'll high pass the group. Bit of EQ on the kick. And some compression on the bass. So obviously if we were doing this for a proper release, there'd be a little bit more time that would be put into that, but I've spent a little while on that already, and I don't want to spend like the entire video just being like, oh, this is how I do my drums, because yeah, a bit boring. So cool. Yeah, maybe that's cool. There's something like causing a lot of like mess. Try get some more layers in here. Some of these sounds are like, I know that I'm looking for. Put your fifth up, there we go. I think there's a bit more brightness in there, but from an arrangement point of view, let's do that and that. Cut the bass out there and copy that over. Into a little build up. Oh. something about those drums that just aren't sitting right for me. The problem I have is that you get like really stuck on like. Right, let's start moving on and start doing some effects and stuff. A little bit of arranging. I'm not really sold on the idea, but I think that I like the ARP. I like the intro. So what it'll probably be is just like redoing this section. But that's fine. We'll arrange it, get some solid stuff out of it, and I'll kind of talk about where I would go from here. So let's delete those. Let's lower that whole low end a little bit. So a lot of it is just about making sure that each you have like some kind of transition effects aiding any change in sort of texture, I guess is the right word. So like here we're going from this kind of thicker part to this breakdown, and then we're going into this drop. So I need to make sure those are like accented with various effects. Samples are fine. You can also make your own as well. So if we were to do like an impact, for example, white noise, this is just operator, this is like a default synth in Ableton. And then because it's white noise, it's full spectrum. So we want to high pass, probably low pass that a little bit. And you can obviously adjust the decay however you want. And then literally like some reverb. And then again, I would adjust the decay like after adding the reverb. Nice. And we can then like use that. So bit more decay on that. And you could also like compress it afterwards as well. Add some delay. And one thing you can also do is flatten that, drag it down, and now you can make a reverse out of that as well. So if we wanted to add something to this, for example, I don't tend to worry too much about the timed stuff. Another cool thing you can do is if we find just an impact, that'll work. Find out what note that is in a sec. Is to do a hit on the snare rather than on the kick at the start of the bar. So you do it on beat 2 instead of beat 1. So that's an F. So or we could even make sure we've got reverses going all the way through. Cool, and then we'll double that up again. Double this, maybe bring some of these atmospheres back for a section here and filter the plucks down. So I tend to just make sure that every sort of 16 bars there's some kind of variation, new element or taking an element out or whatever, just to keep it interesting. And we can do like drum dropouts and stuff as well. Cool, there we go. And we've got now like a rough arrangement. That's a 4.5 minute tune now. So to summarize, started off with some chords, built up some pads and some atmospheres, got various different sort of layers of atmospheres going on, one of which is time stretched, just literally from an old tune, with some shaper box on there to kind of create some movement. We've then moved into sort of this transition section, which is basically just the drop plucks. There we go. Filtered down, and we've got some sort of atmospheric stuff going on over the top. With a kick roll, and then we've got the drop with the drums, which again is the bit that I'm like not sold on, but what I could do if I was moving forward is like definitely take the chords and the whole intro with this ARP. I like the ARP, especially with it as it like evolves. Although is it? Yeah, it is there. Especially when that distortion and stuff really comes out as you bring it out. Delete that. Yeah, so I think there's some usable stuff. I think it's important when you're having sessions that maybe aren't kind of working out, especially if you've got a writer's block, is to kind of keep going and to see what you can then extract from the tune afterwards. So I've got some elements now that I can then like use in a completely different tune to build up when inspiration is hitting. So yeah, hopefully that was helpful. Any questions, let me know, and yeah, I'll see you soon.
Hey, I'm Telomic. I've been producing for just over 10 years, and welcome to my DNB Academy Masterclass. Throughout the course of my career, I've managed over 30 million Spotify streams. I've performed across Europe and the UK. By the end of this course, you guys should be able to make music in the kind of atmospheric liquid style that I've been doing for many years. Just over 5 hours, I'll be going through everything I use to build up my own liquid ambient tunes. So that's everything from music theory to drum design, drum layering, bass design, arrangement, mixing and mastering. And I can't wait to see you guys on the course.